Alright, today we're going to be working on solving the surface area for prisms. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at number one real quick. And notice their instructions do say solve for the surface area. So we're going to be using the whole formula for these, the pH plus 2b. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to start out just like we did on the cylinders, and we're going to determine what our bases are. Now keep in mind that the base is what's going to be on the bottom and top of the figure. Also keep in mind that there are always going to be two shapes that match each other. So for instance, on this one, my base, it's sitting on this part. Imagine it's sitting on the table. That's a base, and that's a base. And remember, step one is we shade our bases so we can determine what they are to make sure we don't make a mistake. Now that we got our bases shaded, we need to find big B, we need to find P, and we need to find H. Now remember, I told you that big B, the formula for it was going to change. Our base is no longer a circle, so we are going to have to use the formula for the area of a base that is a rectangle. And whenever we're trying to find the area of a rectangle, it's just simply length times width. So the length times the width, and it don't matter which one of these you use, but I'm going to say this is the length, and I'm going to say this is my width. So I'm going to length times width, I'm going to say 12 times 6, and that's going to give me the area of the base. So the area of the base is 12 times 6. So that's the area of the base. Now I need the perimeter. Well, the perimeter is going to be all four sides. Imagine that you walked around this square. So there's a 12, if there's 12 over here, this is 12 over here. And if this 6 is over here, then this bottom one right here is 6 as well. So the perimeter is going to be 6 plus 6 plus 12 plus 12. You're just adding up all four sides. And that's something that you've done in previous grades, so something you're familiar with. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, it's 6 plus 6 plus 12 plus 12. And I know that's a whole lot of numbers written down, but that's what the perimeter is. It's all four sides added together. Then we need our height. That's the distance up and down between the two bases. And notice that right here is 7. So the height is 7. So let's plug all these in. We're going to use our formula pH plus 2b. My perimeter is 6 plus 6 plus 12 plus 12. Now you can add all those up and if you want to separately, but I figure if I'm going to add them anyways, I'm just going to write it out and I'll just add it when I put it in the calculator. So that's my P. Now I just need to put my H, which is my height, because we're going to multiply the perimeter of the base to the height. And that's 7. Then we're going to add it to 2 times, there's my 2, the big B, which is the area of the base. And the area of the base is 12 times 6, because remember we have length times width. So that's going to be 2 times 12 times 6. So now that we have all this put in, I'm going to let my calculator do all the work and give me my final answer. Once again, if you wanted to add these up beforehand, you're perfectly welcome to. But I think if you just put it all down here just like this, I know it looks long written out, but then you can put it in your calculator and it's really simple to calculate. So let's go ahead and put it in our calculator. Alright, so on our calculators, if you're at your menu screen, just go over to calculate, hit enter, and let's go ahead and put everything in. So our P is going to be our perimeter of the base, which is a square, and we're going to have 6 plus 6 plus 12 plus 12. And then we are going to put another set of parentheses because we want to multiply that to our height, which was 7. That's the distance between the two bases. And then plus 2 times the area of the base. So 2 times the area of the base, and our base area was 12 times 6 because it's length times width. And now that we got this all put in, we're just going to hit enter. And it gives me an even number of 396. So we don't even have to round on this one. So let's go ahead and go back to it and write our answer down. And that is equal to 396. And these are centimeters, so it's centimeters squared. And there's your answer. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at number 2. Number 2 is very similar. We just need to look at what is it sitting on. It's sitting on its base down here, and then here's the top of the figure. So let's go ahead and shade in our base. That's step 1. Once we got our base shaded in, we want to go ahead and we want to find those 3 values. We want to find our big B, we want to find our big P, and we want to find our H. And just in case you're wondering, our formula for B is just the length times the width. And for the perimeter, it's going to have 4 sides, so we just got side plus side plus side plus side. So that's just one way of writing it. And so let's go ahead and let's write those out. So for the area of the base, my base is going to be 1 times 4. Or I should say 4 times 1. That's my length right there, and that's my width. I always just, in my head, I just say the width is always the one that's the shortest distance. The length is always the long one. L, right? Length is long. So when we talk about length, we're going to say 4 times 1. So that's our length times our width. Put it in parentheses. There we go. That's my area, my base. Now, for the perimeter, remember that we got to walk around this square all 4 sides. So we have 1, and we have a 1, and we have a 4, and a 4. So I'm just going to write it like this. I'm going to say it's 1 plus 1 plus 4 plus 4. And what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, this side's 1, and this side over here is a 1. This side's a 4, and this length over here is a 4. So we got 4 plus 4 plus 1 plus 1. There's all my numbers added together. Now the height, that's the distance between the 2 bases. And that is 7. So now I got all the numbers I need. I'm going to write it out, pH plus 2b. So when I write my P, my perimeter is going to be 1 plus 1 plus 4 plus 4. Then it's going to be multiplied to my H, which my height is 7. So I'm just going to put a 7. And then plus 2 times the area of the base. And remember, my area of my base, my big B, is 4 times 1. Now, some of you might have said, well, hey, I know what 4 times 1 is. It's just a 4, so I'm going to write a 4 here. But if you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. I'm just writing everything out so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And now we just need to put this in the calculator. So if we're going to put this in our calculator, we're going to do our P first. So let's see, so P is our perimeter, and it's 1 plus 1 plus 4 plus 4. Then we're going to multiply that to our height. And the height of this figure is 7 feet. And then we're going to add it to 2 times the area of our base. So 2 times 4 times 1. And now that you've got this all in, all you're going to do is hit enter. And once you hit enter, it's going to give you your answer and round that to the nearest 10. Alright, let's look at the next one. So the next one, if we're going to do this other figure right over here, it's just number 3. We need to locate our bases, and remember it's what it sits on. So these are our bases. Here's our top, and here's our bottom. So now that we've located our bases, we just need to find those 3 values. We need to find our big B, which is the area of the base, our P, which is the perimeter, the distance around that square, and then our H, which is our height, the difference, our distance between the 2 bases. So let's take a look. For big B, I just need length times width, and remember length times width, I'm going to write L times W, is equal to 9 times 7. That's my length, and that's my width. So 9 times 7. Alright, so now I need to find P. Remember, P is the perimeter, so it's all 4 sides added together. Well, if this side's 9, this side over here has got to be 9. And if this is 7, this side over here has got to be 7. So let's go ahead and add that up. Then we have 9 plus 9 plus 7 plus 7. And I'll put that in parentheses. And that's going to be my perimeter. 9 plus 9 plus 7 plus 7. And my height is the distance between the 2 bases, which is 15. So now I have all 3 values. and I'm going to go ahead and put that into my equation, pH plus 2b. So for my p, I'm going to put my perimeter, which is 9 plus 9 plus 7 plus 7. And then for h, I'm going to put that 15. That's my h. And then I have plus 2 times b, and b is 9 times 7. So 9 times 7. So now that I got this whole thing done, I can just put this into my calculator and get my final answer. I'm going to let you do that on your own. Once you're done with that, I'm going to go down here. There's only a couple that I think are a little tricky that I want to help you with. Number 5, the bases. Notice they tilted it on its side, but looking at it, look for the parts of it that look like they're most likely to be sitting on something. So in other words, if we had an object, like if I took this flash drive, right, and I had it sitting down, well, if I had it sitting like this, what they've done is they just kind of put it on its edge, but it's still, the bottom you can tell is still up, down right here, and then the top is right up here. So those are your bases. That's what you use for your bases. And on number 6, if you have trouble locating your bases, I just want you to look at it the same way. This tilted part is your base. So the base is going to be this 6 and that one. So those are your bases. So knowing that those are your bases, figure out your base on this other one, and I want you to go ahead and solve these 3 problems all on your own. Alright, so now we're going to move on to number 7, which is a triangular prism. And the good thing about the triangular prism is it's always really easy to locate the base no matter how they orient the shape, because all we're looking at is just for a triangle. So with this triangular prism, for instance, no matter how they put it, the base will always be the triangle. So what you're going to do is when you see one like this, I want you to just shade in the triangles, and you know right then these triangles are my base. Same thing goes for this one. They've oriented this one kind of odd, but we can look at it and go, hey, I recognize the triangle shape, and so these have to be my base. Same thing goes with this. Your bases have to be right here. So now that we shaded in our bases, let's go ahead and solve a few of these to get you started. So for instance, on the first one, number 7, there's 3 things that we need to find as usual. We need to find, let me scoot it over here, we need to find big B, we need to find P, and we need to find H. So now there are some differences here, right? Because if you notice, when we find the area of our base, the area is no longer a rectangle. The area is actually going to be a triangle, and that's going to change our formula. And our formula that it's going to change to is going to be 1/2 base times the height. So that's going to be big B. The perimeter is also going to change a little bit, because instead of having 4 sides, like this one we had 4 sides, we added them all 4 together. We only have 3 sides on a triangle, so we're going to add all 3 sides together, side plus side plus side. So it's going to be side plus side plus side. And then the height is just going to be the distance between the 2 bases. That one stays the same. It's always the easiest thing to find and locate. But for those of you who may have a little trouble grasping this formula, going, okay, well, why did you say 1/2 the base times the height? Well, one of these sides of the triangle is the base, and one of these sides of the triangle is the height. And it don't matter which one you switch. They're both legs. You can interchange those. But one is going to be the height, and one is going to be the base. And on this one, I put height right there. Actually, the height is going to be this 15 right here. Let me put an H right there. So notice it's got a right angle sign right here. Do you see that? This is a right triangle. So this is a leg, this is a leg, and if I drew an arrow like we had done previously over here, 17 would be the hypotenuse. So if we look at our height, our base times our height, just pick the 2 legs, the ones that line up with that right angle sign, and those are going to be, that's going to be part of your formula. So for those who might need a visual on why this is so, I'm going to give you an example real quick. Alright, for some of you who are like me and you just want to know why our formula for a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height, I'm going to give you a good example and show you why. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out by drawing an actual rectangle. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's see, I'm going to count the units. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is 4 units in height. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is 5 units in width. So let me let that focus in real quick. So we got 4 in height and we have 5 in the width. Now if I go ahead and turn this into a rectangle, it's also 4 units right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the width, the length of it, I'm sorry, is also 5 units. And we can count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're looking at this right now and you're going, yeah, I get this, Mr. H, this is a square. And it is a square. Now, if we wanted to find the area of this, we would take our length, which is the long side, times our width, which is the short side, right? And we would say, okay, it's 4 units times 5 units. That gives me 20 units. So my area is 20 units. And we could confirm this by counting this, right? We could say, well, this is 1, 2, let's count them real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So there's 20 units inside of here if it's 4 units tall and are 4 units wide and 5 units long. Now, I'm sure all of you are going, well, we know that. We know that we multiply length times width, and it always gives us the area of a square or rectangle. I'll put a rectangle. But what you may not be aware of is if we were to draw a line, and watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw a line from here all the way to the other corner. You see that? Now that I've drawn a line through that, I'm going to shade it in and show you what shape we've made. So if we draw that line and we shade it in, notice we now have a triangle. Not only do we have a triangle, but if I draw a right angle sign, we have a right triangle. If I draw my arrow, that's my hypotenuse. So you go, okay, well, why do I need to know that half of a rectangle makes a triangle? Well, because anytime that you have a right triangle in one of your prisms, that's how we get that formula, 1/2 the base times the height. Because if we cut any rectangle in half, it's going to make a triangle. And imagine this, imagine what we're really doing is we're saying 1/2 the length times the width. That's what we're really saying. 1/2 the length times the width. So in other words, if this rectangle is 20 units, then this triangle is going to be half of it, because corner to corner cuts it in half into 2 equal triangles. So that would mean that this rectangle, which is 20 units, if it were a triangle, I'm going to draw a little picture of a triangle. If it's a triangle, it's going to be equal to 10 units. Okay, and just in case some of you want to go ahead and test this, go ahead and take a look at it. Let's use this formula to solve it. We have a height, right, of 4, and we have our length of 5. So let's plug those numbers in. So our base, right, or we can also call that base, our length, they're the same thing, is 5. And our width, right, which is also our height, is 4. Then this is the same thing you did up here, 4 times 5, 5 times 4. The only difference is we are now going to multiply this by 1/2. So 5 times 4 gives me 20. And then I've got to multiply it times 1/2. And if I multiply it by 1/2, then that's going to tell me, that's basically like dividing 20 by 2. Right? Because if we multiply this out, 1 times 20 equals 20. And it's really 20 over 1. 2 times 1 equals 2. That gives me 20 over 2, and if I work that out, I think we can do this one in our head. 20 over 2 gives me 10, which is exactly what I had said up here. And why is it that? Because 1/2 of any rectangle gives us a triangle. So 1/2 the length times the width, or 1/2 times the base times the height of a triangle, is going to give us the area of that triangle. So hopefully this helps clarify that, and let's go back now to the 3D figure and go ahead and finish getting its surface area. Alright, so now what we have here is we're going to go and write at big B. We have 1/2 times my base, which I'm going to say is 8, times my height, which I'm going to say is 15, and I'm just going to put that all in parentheses. So 1/2 times 8 times 15. Now for my perimeter, I got side plus side plus side. So in this one I got 8 plus 15 plus 17. So 8 plus 15 plus 17. I know I wrote that really small, but I'm running out of room. Alright, and then for the height, that's the distance between my two bases. And that's the easiest one to do, it's just 7. So now let's go ahead and put this into our formula, pH plus 2b. So my p is going to be my perimeter, it's 8 plus 15 plus 17. So 8 plus 15 plus 17 times my h, and my h is 7, plus 2 times the area of the base. And the area of the base is 1/2 times, I probably should have left a little bit more space, let's go and just write over it, times 8 times 15. And that's basically my length times my width, and then we're taking half of it. So now that we got this all together, we can put this in the calculator and we can solve and get our answer. Let's do that. Alright, so let's go ahead and put in our P. Our P was the perimeter, and that was all three sides added together. So 8 plus 15 plus 17 times our H, which is our height, and that was just 7. And then plus 2 times the area of the base. Now for this one, I'm going to use my fraction bar. So watch what I hit on here. I'm going to hit divide. I'm going to hit Control and then hit divide, and it's going to give me a fraction bar there. And on that fraction bar, I'm going to put 1/2. And then I'm going to go to the outside of that. Notice I hit that right arrow key. And then I'm going to say times 8 times 15. So now that I'm done, I've got all this put in. You can pause it at this moment if you need to, and go ahead and make sure you get this put in exactly like I have it. And then you're going to hit enter. And your answer is going to be 400. So let's go ahead and write that down. So and we don't even have to do any rounding on this one. It's an even 400. So our answer is 400, and that's inches squared. Alright, so now I'm just going to help you set up number 8, and then I want you to do number 8 and number 9 on your own. So let's go and look at number 8. So on number 8, notice that it gives us some measurements. It gives us quite a few measurements they have going on around here, but it's telling us two of the sides of the triangle are 4.5 and 4.5, and then the next one on the bottom is 4.5. So they're all the same. So therefore this is an equilateral triangle. And so what we want to do is we want to go ahead and find our big B and find our big P and our H. Now the nice thing about this, look at this right here. They're actually telling us the area of the base is 8.8 centimeters. So we do not even need to use this formula. They are giving the answer to us. So we're just going to write that in. So the area of the base is 8.8. Right? That's given. We don't have to do nothing else with that. The perimeter is going to be side plus side plus side. So that's going to be 4.5 plus 4.5 plus 4.5. Okay, so that's easy enough, right? 4.5 plus 4.5 plus 4.5. Our height is the distance between the two bases. So that's going to give us 4.1 centimeters. That's our distance between the two bases, 4.1 centimeters. So now if we write that out, we have pH plus 2b. Our P is going to be 4.5 plus 4.5 plus 4.5. Our H is 4.1, so let me write my H over here. That's 4.1, so it's the perimeter times the height plus, and then there's our 2 times the area of the base, which they've given that to us, 8.8. It says right here, 8.8. And now you just need to put that in your calculator and get your final answer and write it down for me and box it. Let's take a look at this one. Notice this one is a right triangle. So they didn't give us the area of the base because they go, hey, this is a right triangle. We're giving you two legs. So if this is the area of the base, I can draw my arrow. That's my hypotenuse. So this is a leg over here, and this is a leg over here. So they're going, well, hey, I'm giving you the length and the width, or the base and the height of the triangle, and you can use your formula. So let's set it up. So we got B is equal to 1/2 the base times the height. So I'm going to do 1/2 the base. I'm going to call my base 6. So times 6. And then times my height, which is 8. And I'm just going to put that in parentheses. That's the area of my base. My perimeter is side plus side plus side. So it's going to be 6 plus 8 plus 10. And then my height is the distance between two bases, the two bases. And if I look at the distance between the two bases, it looks like that value is 6.4 millimeters. Notice they put it up at the top, and it represents this line right here. So I'm going to put 6.4. So now, use your formula, pH plus 2b. I'm going to let you go ahead and plug these numbers into the formula and solve it and write your answer. Once you get done with number 9, I do want you to go ahead and complete the word problems, number 10 and number 11 on your own. Be sure to draw the picture of what they're telling you, and that'll help you out with being able to determine what the values are.